Confident, I walked to the front of the conference room, ready to give the big presentation. There before me was the board of directors, staring at me, a little stern-faced, a little skeptical, but I was ready. I began to utter my first words, and I realized, how could this be? I am completely naked, not a stitch of clothing. What am I going to do? I could slink down behind the conference table and give my presentation as a talking head. I could run off to the bathroom and wind myself up in a 10-foot roll of paper towels or toilet paper and slink off the premises, never to be seen again. Or maybe make the most of it. Act confident, strut my stuff, act like I meant to do it. And then the panic seized me once again and everything faded. And I woke up in my bed, in my pajamas. Well, actually, I was still naked, but I was lying there with someone who'd already given me a pass, so it didn't matter. And I thought to myself, I still have 3 months to go before the big presentation. So I called a friend of mine. I said, what am I going to do? I'm terrified. How can I prepare for this presentation? And my friend had one word for me. Toastmasters. Toastmasters? What's Toastmasters? It's a public speaking organization. They help people overcome their fear of public speaking and develop platform skills. But how am I going to start? He says it's easy. There won't be anybody in the room. All you have to do is speak to the green dot. What could be easier than that? So I went to my first Toastmasters meeting. And I observed. And I watched the speakers. And I hid in the back of the room. And then the table topics master came on, and I thought to myself, this person's a little bit of a sadist. And he began to ask these unusual questions. Question number 1, what is the difference between an orange? Oh, please don't call on me, please don't call on me, please don't call on me. Question number 2, if you were the first female president of Antarctica, who would you appoint as your ambassador to Romania? Don't call on me. Don't call on me. Question number 3. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your favorite color? Pointed right at me. I got to the front of the room, kind of shaking, wishing I'd wore some Depends. And I began. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your favorite color? You see, if you repeat the question, you kill a little bit of time and hopefully you can stall and stammer and stutter and get beat around the bush a little bit until that green light comes on. I think we've all been there at one point in our speaker's journey. Well, that was a disaster, and I went without a roll of toilet paper to slink out of the room, and I was intercepted by the VP of membership. And she was so kind, and she was so warm, and she was so supportive, and she was so totally hot that I joined Toastmasters. And I began to show up. I began to go to meetings. And I learned some things at these meetings. I learned that a cordless microphone can pick up AM radio stations from Havana, Cuba. I learned that the slide projector will always die in the middle of the performance. And for online presentations, I learned that the neighbor will always bring out their leaf blower right in the middle. Nothing you can do about it. It's Murphy's Law. Well, the time came for me to do my very first speech. And we all know what that first speech is. That very first speech, that terrifying introduction to Toastmasters, the Ice Bucket Challenge. Well, that one didn't go across as planned either. But I did it. And I kept coming back and I kept speaking. And the day of the big presentation arrived. And I went to the back, to the front of the conference room, and I began to utter my first words. I looked out at the board of directors and I realized I'm totally naked. Not a stitch of clothing. How could I have done this again? And the scene faded. And I woke up and I lay back in my bed and I looked at my alarm clock. 3 hours to go. I can do this.